The verdict was as shocking as it was swift. 10 years jail and a fine of $25 million. That was the judgment in the Dubai Criminal Court this afternoon against Australian businessman Matthew Joyce. He spent the past 4 years in detention awaiting judgment. The Dubai authorities claim Joyce is guilty of fraud, but his defenders say he's been falsely accused by an Australian developer who blamed him when a business deal involving a company owned by the Emir of Dubai went wrong. Joyce's fellow Australian and co-accused Marcus Lee was today acquitted and is planning to return to Australia. Shortly we'll hear from the Foreign Minister Bob Carr, but first Matt Peacock reports on today's verdict.
For Marcus Lee and his family, after 4 years detention in Dubai, the nightmare is over.
Marcus rang me and his first words to me were, "John, we did it." And after that he was trembling and emotional, and obviously it's been a very trying day for him.
But for Lee's colleague Matt Joyce, it's the maximum of 10 years jail time with a seemingly impossible fine of $25 million.
I've got to say I'm shell-shocked. I'm actually devastated. I can't imagine how he feels, how his wife Angela feels, his kids, his parents. My heart goes out to them, and all I can say is don't give up hope, Matt. There's some of us here that will fight to the death to get you home and see some justice prevail.
Going to jail anywhere when you're innocent is an awful prospect. Going to jail when you're innocent in a foreign country is, you know, I suppose I can't even imagine it.
4 years ago, Matt Joyce and Marcus Lee were arrested and jailed for 9 months. They've since been under house arrest in Dubai as concern about their plight has mounted at home.
This is their farewell parties. It's not just destroying Matt's life, it's destroying the life of 3 beautiful children, a beautiful wife, an Australian family that deserve justice, and they deserve more. And for 4 years they've been incredibly resilient, but they're suffering.
The Middle East, Dubai, the jewel of the Arab world.
The 2 Australians were caught up in the world's biggest building boom, working for Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum's development company in 2008, when the Dubai ruler planned to transform his tiny emirate into a tourist mecca.
And the Crown Prince has a history of getting what he wants.
Also there to get in on the action was Gold Coast property developer Sahil Abedian and his company Sunland. It was Sunland's accusations that later provided a basis for the Dubai charges.
I believe any single individual that is in any foreign jurisdiction is involved in any kind of business, they should uphold the law of that country.
Sunland teamed up in a joint venture with another Australian company, Prudentia, owned by Angus Reid, to develop a block of the Sheikh's waterfront land. But just before purchase, Sunland paid Prudentia $12 million, leaving Sunland clear to develop the block on its own. When the property market crashed, Dubai authorities arrested Sunland's David Brown over suspicion the $12 million was a bribe. Brown blamed Joyce and Lee, saying Joyce had fraudulently told him Prudentia had a prior stake on the block. That's an accusation Sunland's chairman has stood by.
If I do anything wrong in Dubai, I deserve to be punished as well. If somebody from Dubai come here and does something that is illegal, the judiciary will ultimately be the judge.
What made Dubai authorities suspicious was that half of the $12 million was paid into Matt Joyce's offshore bank account. Joyce later repaid it, less what he said he was owed for a previous deal, and an Australian court has dismissed the claims against him made by his accusers. Earlier this year, the Victorian Supreme Court did judge Sunland's accusations, finding that it had paid the money simply to buy out its joint partner, and that the evidence of Brown and Abedian was fanciful, unreliable, inaccurate and not believable. But in today's Dubai findings, the Victorian decision was ignored, Along with Matt Joyce, Prudentia's Angus Reid was also found guilty in absentia.
It certainly doesn't square with my sense of justice. I mean, in essence, this is very complex, but in essence, the key witness who gave a statement to the Dubai authorities on which the Dubai authorities charged and have now come down with a verdict on Matt Joyce, that evidence was actually put to the test in the Victorian Supreme Court last year. That very same witness in the witness box actually swore on oath, having sworn an oath, said that the statement he gave was incorrect. In other words, it was false. It was misleading. Some would even suggest that perhaps he had lied at the time.
In a statement today, Angus Reid said the Australian court findings highlight that this is a gross miscarriage of justice. Matthew Joyce has also released a statement expressing shock that he'd been convicted based on the evidence of a witness found by an Australian court to have lied.
When we first heard the case against Matt, it was utter disbelief that this could be the case. Matt is the most honest and upstanding person that we've met in both a professional and a personal sense, and utter disbelief. And all we could think was, this is a huge mistake, this will all be over quickly.
And together, stand together.
Friends Eleanor Cox and Marcus Gillizo noticed a dramatic change in Matt Joyce even after his earlier imprisonment.
It clearly had an enormous impact on him. You know, he was literally physically smaller, and his hair had greyed, and, you know, Matt was, you know, obviously under incredible pressure and had gone through an experience that would be very hard to comprehend, having actually been put in jail for what I understand was 9 months.
We've got Marcus Lee, who's acquitted, which is sensational, but there's no mention of Matt Joyce being detained.
Already, the Liberal Senator Helen Kroger has called for the Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, to intervene.
This is terrible. She needs to get on the phone and direct them to the findings of the Victorian Supreme Court. There will be an appeal process in those representations. She could suggest that the Australian government would assist in coordinating the location of any Australians who could give evidence which would further give advice to this situation.
Matt Joyce will be appealing his sentence, but either way it seems his detention in Dubai is certain to continue for many more years to come.
The thing that saddens me most is the lost childhood that his 3 young children are currently having, and the lost opportunities he's having to fully embrace fatherhood. And Matt is such a fantastic father, and they're such a beautiful family. And these last 4 years have placed such an incredible strain on them. It's that loss of innocence and the loss of family time that is so incredibly sad.